right, so my craziest story in home inspection in 18 years is I had a lunch appointment to meet a client after my inspection. Well, he showed up early. I was about an hour and a half into the inspection. So I spend, 45 minutes to an hour outside the house. I get into the house, do the whole upstairs, and then my client shows up. Okay, so he wants to see the house. He's only seen it once. His wife hasn't even seen it. And we start walking downstairs to an unfinished basement. And this is around, I don't know, September sometime. So we're walking down into the basement, and he's just opening doors and looking. Then I'm kind of looking around because I hadn't been in the basement yet. And he opens up a closet, and I kind of see him jump back a little bit. And I said, "What's up?" He goes, "Eric, come check this out. There's a full-size Halloween mannequin or something in this closet." And I thought, well, what are you talking about? This is weird. What do they got, Frankenstein in here or something? So I go and I just look around the corner. I don't know if he's trying to scare me. This was my second inspection with him, so he's comfortable with me. So I look around the corner with the flashlight, and I see pupils in this guy kind of move in here. And my client, this guy jumps out, and my client screams like a little girl, jumps in back of me, grabs a hold of me as a shield in front of this guy. And I look behind him calmly and I says, "If you don't let go of me, I'm going to take you down first." And I said, "Buddy, everything's okay." So this was a homeless guy. He had just gotten into a fight, I find this out from him, a fight about 2 days before, and he's got an active knife wound all down his face, like a big scar, 6 inches.
Crazy.
And it's still kind of bleeding a little bit. And so that's why when he looked around, he saw that, and, he was standing still, cool. And I just calmly said, "Hey, we're not going to hurt you. We're not here. We're here on business. You've probably heard I've been here for an hour and a half up on the roof. So please, you got to leave. This is a realtor's house. I'm not going to call the cops, but you have to go, okay?" And so I walk him upstairs, and he leaves. And it's about 10 minutes later, we go down, and, my client's just frazzled. And I said, "Bud, if you want this house for your wife, I recommend you don't tell her this story. But if you do, that's what it is." Never heard from the client again. He didn't end up buying the house. But
he was probably so embarrassed.
He was so embarrassed. But anyway, that guy had a little bag of stuff, make it short and sweet, a little bag of stuff, probably his whole life, in the bag. So I put on some gloves, picked up everything. I walked outside, and I held the bag just up, and I showed him that I put it on the front porch, or kind of out on the sidewalk, little front porch. And I walked away, drove off, made sure everything's locked up. And then I came back in about 15 minutes, and it was gone. So he got in the bag. But that's the moral of the story. Yeah, he jumped out, nothing. But it did get me to start packing, a knife, a little more
conscious.
Absolutely. You
imagine that happening to me on a showing. Imagine a knife fight victim popping out of a closet.
Well, it happens all the time to real estate agents. I mean, that's why it's so prevalent in our training that of safety. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to be in at the office. You're supposed to go with somebody, to do these clients. But it does happen, and unfortunately, it has. And being a female, if he would have saw a female instead of two men, maybe he was scared from that scream that the guy let out. I don't know. I was. I was like, "Well, what are you doing?" But he was okay.
Well, and honestly, that's one of my favorite parts about being a team. So now that you're licensed as a real estate agent, and we're able to go out together. So if we don't know the clients, there's two of us. You have the home inspector knowledge.
Absolutely.
I've been in real estate 8 years, and it's just nice to have. It's safety as well as knowledge.
It is safety. That's wonderful that you are the real estate expert. You know what's going on. I do know the home inspection stuff, so that's a nice feature that I can add. But just, I love seeing houses with you. That's wonderful part of working with you is to be able to go out and see these houses. We have a lot of similar likes and dislikes. So when we see a house, we can always confer at what does this need? What is your opinion in this? And then we can get the client, the best house that they can, or let them know this may not be the one, and this is what I saw. So,
well, my craziest real estate story, actually, and I should probably be thankful because this is more funny. Yeah. But I had these clients that wanted to see a variety of houses over probably a 90-minute span with all of the driving. And hot summer day, it was actually quite the adventurous day, but what really topped it off, other than popping my tire of my vehicle and having the police of the local town have to help me change the tire, was I got home. I'd been wearing white pants, spring, summer outfit, and I looked in the mirror and I had a half melted protein bar stuck to the back of my white pants, chocolate, just plastered on there, right on my butt cheek. And they hadn't mentioned it all day, but I knew from when I had eaten the protein bar and set it down that it had probably been there for a few hours.
For quite a while.
Quite a while.
Yeah. Cop didn't say anything.
If
I remember the story correct, you had kids with you. And because
I did not have kids with me. No.
You didn't? Mm-mm. Oh, I thought this was a change of tire where in Grand Coulee when you had a couple kids, because that's what you used to do before. I was in real estate, and I was busy with home inspection. You would haul kids.
Block that out.
yeah, because Micah was trying
good old days.
Remember, he helped him. Micah got underneath the car and helped the police officer, and because she was a very good agent and still is. Oh, well, she's retired now. Patty, a good agent of mine in Grand Coulee. I knew her husband was police chief, and what a blessing that was, huh? He showed right up and did that for us. So I don't even know if we were married at the time. We might have just been
I don't think so.
dating at that time, but that worked out.
So you and I met through real estate. You were the home inspector that the office recommended, and I'm not sure how many inspections you had done on properties I was selling.
I think only a couple.
Only a couple, yeah. And then I happened to sell a house where I was required to sit there through the whole inspection.
Oh, yeah.
By the listing agent.
Yes.
So that's when we really got to know each other, because nothing like 3 hours.
Yes. Now I remember that. Yes. I was single, and I was interested. So what was the next thing I did was I went to your boss and we went to lunch. That is a true story. We took him to lunch, but we've done that in the past. Know, I'm just taking the real estate guys to lunch to get to work, but I take him to lunch and I said, "So tell me about your new real estate agent." And he goes, "Oh, Lindsay." And I said, "Yeah, I worked with her a couple times. What is her story?" I go, "We're guys talking, right?" I said, "No, she's kind of cute, and I was just wondering what her story is." He's like, "Oh, no, you don't want anything to do. She's got 6 kids, going through a divorce. You just stay away from that one, Eric." And I said, "I don't think I want to." And the look on his eye was like, "Oh," and then it was just, so that ended.
You asked me to dinner not too long after.
It wasn't too long after that. It didn't scare me away.
I wasn't really interested initially. It was just like, oh, it's friends. This is nice, co-working. And then somehow you grew on me. Here we are.
Yeah.
You helped me move.
Yeah.
That was huge.
I did. I helped you move, and I inspected, for the people, I helped you move in your house when you were moving out and stuff.
So other than asking me to dinner and me spilling my drink within 2 minutes of us being together all over your lap.
On my brand new light colored pants. And what did you get? A blueberry martini or daiquiri or something. So total opposite color of what I was wearing, but yes.
I think I told you probably that first date. By the way, I'm moving in 3 weeks.
You did. I think it was the first or second. Yes. And those were fairly close to each other. Yeah. He was like, so little backdrop. I'd been working in 2 places with home inspection, right? Spokane and in Okanagan Valley, where my kids were, correct? So I wanted to move back to Okanagan, and I dropped my business out of Spokane. I had been doing it for 10 years, working 2 jobs, I was done. I just wanted to be with my daughter up in Okanagan County, and we meet, and you say on our second day, guess what? I'm moving back to Spokane. I'm thinking about moving to Spokane. And I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. I really kind of like this, the girl. I don't want her to go. And so I said, well, if it's meant to work, it'll work. We'll just have to do distance-wise. I'm, not coming back. But we made it work. That's the way we did.
Here we are.
Lots of travel.
Lots of travel. Always. So I got into real estate actually 2017. I started the licensing process. I'd had some people tell me that I would be a good agent, and I had done a little bit of kind of property management, but really I just worked very, very part-time for fostering Washington, which is basically you're a liaison between the state and foster parents, paid minimally, but it was something I could do remotely. I had passion. I had been a foster parent for 10 years. And so I needed something, though. I was going through a divorce, and I needed something that would actually support myself and the 6 mouths that I needed to feed. So real estate it was. I would study. I'd put the kids to bed. I'd study from like 9 to 11:30 every night.
Yes,
and
I remember.
Got through it, passed my exam on the first try, thankfully. You always hear nightmare stories about that.
Yeah.
And really haven't looked back. I loved it so much more. No, I shouldn't say I loved it. I love it so much more than I thought I would. Building relationships with people, having that one-on-one interaction. You really get to know people when you're touring with them and like going to homes, finding their likes, don't likes. You kind of learn their story. Just there's a lot of one-on-one time, which is where I thrive. And
absolutely.
As you know, a lot of my clients are now like my dearest friends.
I was going to say, I've never met anybody that just meets somebody and within, a girlfriend saying, I think I met my best friend, or I have a new best friend, or I love her. And I was just like, wow, that is something,
I love a lot of people.
That is something special. I mean, you have the heart. I mean, it is a perfect industry. I think there's more out there for you other than real estate. We can talk about that, in a little bit, but what a perfect, job for you. I'm not, me, I want to be, left alone, do my thing, do my job. And I am a people person, but I mean, I don't thrive in it like you do in relationships. And it's just, yeah, it's a blessing watching you interact with your clients. And I have learned so much. And one of the reasons why I wanted to take that next step and get my license and work with you is just because I have watched you so much and listened to how you handle things on the phone and with people and do that. And it's just like, I just want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's fun to champion people. It's fun to support people. And how many clients now have I gone on vacation with? I mean, like Mexico vacation? Numerous, which is hilarious, well, really. But
rough.
Yeah, pretty rough.
Yeah. I notice you haven't had that many clients from Alaska that you go up there with.
Very true.
Yeah. The cold places.
Eric and I were on House Hunters. I don't actually remember how that all transpired, but I remember got an email or something from HGTV, probably because a listing I'd had previously was featured on one of their lakefront bargain hunt.
I believe that's exactly how it happened.
And it was like, hey, we need agents, apply now if you're interested. And I was like, this might be kind of fun.
Well, sign us
up. I
up.
think Eric was near as excited as I was.
Sign us up.
But it was super fun. It was super quick process. We went through like a couple Zoom interviews and next thing you know, we were touring homes and talking about skylights and stairs and scraping jam out of carpets.
Yeah, we don't want to give the backstory of how it all works, but it was a fun adventure.
It was a fun adventure.
And I think the only reason I think that we did a decent job is because of all the people, and there's been dozens and dozens, if not more, people that have talked to us about that. None of them guessed the house that we were going to choose, right?
True. That's
so
true.
we did pretty good, right? I mean, we had them fooled. We had, so they were like, oh, it was definitely number 1 or number 2. My phone was blowing up when it was showing on TV. Oh, you're going to pick one. You're going to pick one. Okay, well, let's see. Yeah.
We had so much fun. I really think so. They've continued to reach out to me asking if I have any clients that are, you know, currently fit the bill for House Hunters episodes, which I haven't yet. I had one couple that almost did it, and it was a little too time consuming, but
they should have.
I think it's because we had so much fun. We built a great relationship over that week and just had so much fun with the producers and tons of laughs. And we will do it again someday.
We will. And I think it'll be for either with the client or obviously with ourselves too, you know, for if we have a move in our future.
Yep.
Yeah, that was fun. Other than real estate, what is the most interesting job you've ever had?
The most interesting job?
Yes, like what is the most interesting job? Like a fun job? What all? I mean,
you know, I honestly haven't. I'm not like one of those people that's had a ton of jobs.
Okay.
I did cherry line at 15. You know, sorting cherries and boxing them. Got to hit that 20-pound mark and move the box.
Hard work. I worked in a vegetable packing plant down in Walla Walla in college in the summer. I get it. Hard work.
And then I waitressed for like 10 years.
There you go.
I waitressed through, and that was fun because it's pretty good money if you're a good waitress.
Yeah.
And you meet. It's like, you know, you're not taking stuff home with you. You're just like interacting, which I love to do.
Yeah.
Interacting with people, building relationships, you know, people that you see day after day, week after week, like you get to know really well.
An occasional pizza or something you can take home though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
The shift meals don't hurt.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I worked for Fostering Washington. I'm trying to think of what else I've really done that was, I would say, I mean, I'm kind of one of those people that would potentially try my hand at anything. Yeah. But it has to be, I hate, like, if I'm going to go sit in a cubicle or, like, that's never going to work for me. Yeah. I have to be interacting with people as a must and actually getting out and about. I'm not like a 9-to-5er type.
Yeah. I'm not either.
Yeah.
I'm not either. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I've kind of been my own boss since I've been 23 years old.
Yeah, and that's hard. All of a sudden, someone telling you how you're going to, like, can I go on this vacation? Can I take these days off? My kids, you know, I have this stuff to do with my kids. And they're like, no, sorry, you've exceeded your whatever personal days. That's
you have no more sick days.
Okay, here's my notice. Like, I'm done.
I know.
So.
I've heard that. Well, that's good. Good. You know, I not that you asked me this question, but I, you know, believe it or not, and I know you know this, but for 11 years I owned a dry cleaners and laundromat. So, you know, believe it or not, you know, that's when the first business I had an opportunity to buy. And when I realized I wasn't good with working with, you know, bosses or whatever it was. I mean, I worked with Forest Service and DNR and fought forest fire and worked on the lines there and drove combine in high school out in the wheat fields and did all that, which is interesting. That was one of the biggest topics. If I was to go in to a place, they would ask me, you drove one of those big old $100,000 machines, you know, and so that was really fun.
Mean business.
So I'm sitting in the dry cleaner, and as you well know, I'm a sports nut, right? I mean, it's just everything sports, especially football, basketball, whatever. So I'm sitting in the dry cleaners, and a good friend of ours, the Harrimans, and came up, and his dad came up to me to sell advertising for the state, for a playoff game, local playoff game in the small town, basketball game. And I just talked his ear off. I said, oh man, that's going to be a good game because this is going to happen, you know, this and this. And he looked at me and says, forget the advertising. Do you think you could do that on the radio? We are looking for, and I'm fresh out of college, you know, or buying this and looking for another job, any type of gig. And would you be willing to come into the studio and see if this is something you'd like to do? So they put on, and I said, sure, I'll come in and do it. I never thought about that. And put on a little TV, and they said, just call, you know, what do you see happening? And I just did, and they were just like, I got hired on the spot, and that led to, I think about a 13-year career of doing that calling 8 state championship games. I've called football and basketball. And it was just so much fun. You've seen pictures of my daughter and I sitting with our headphones on like this, sitting, because I was single dad a lot. We'd travel to all the little towns and call games, and she would sit there next to me, and I would just call a game with it and keep stats. And that was probably the funnest job I've ever had, I mean, it certainly didn't pay much, but I got to see all that. And I've seen some called games for a couple guys who played for Gonzaga, one guy that went actually pro basketball, Joe Harris, won the NBA 3-point championship. Yep. And best basketball player I've ever seen play, and obviously, and yeah, so fun
That's
stuff.
the perfect example of being like in the right spot at the right time and actually grasping the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Because him, if he never would have asked you that whole 13 years,
it would have never
happened.
No.
Which is crazy.
No.
And you love that. I'm not convinced you won't be back in some sort of sports broadcasting someday.
Doing something.
You love it. You light up.
I did. It was fun. I mean, I remember my first football game. It was a football game that I started with, and we were at Cascade down in Leavenworth, and it's wheezing, as you would say, wheezing cold. And I'm there, and I'm so nervous. I am so nervous. I'm going to be honest, because I can be honest here. I had a Bloody Mary before it went on the air because to calm my nerves. Why I chose that, I don't have no idea. It's cold out. It's not like I'm sitting there in a Bloody Mary and calm there. And I had a written out sheet. So I must have sounded like a robot. Hello, this is Eric Cantlon, and welcome to Cascade High School here, in the opening. And it just got easier than that. And that led into a long career of doing that. So yeah, that was kind of fun. That was interesting.
Nobody starts anything good. Like, you'll meet people all the time. I'm a lot of business leaders and things that I associate with. They're like, I was terrible, and then I was okay. Yeah. And then I was good, and now they're amazing. Yeah. It's like so many people are scared to even make that first move or sound terrible or look terrible that they won't ever get there. Yeah. And what are they missing out on because of that? Yeah.
Oh, I don't get good at things unless I do them. Yeah. Right? I mean, it's just, there is nothing that I have started to do that including, say, golf is my passion, I wasn't good the first time I picked up a club and started playing, I wasn't a good putter, but after approximately 1 million putts in my life, to practice, you get good, whether it's
real estate. I can guarantee you I was not good the first time I sold a house. You always kind of feel bad when you find out somebody's like doing their first deal or two, because we remember those deals, and you're just like, man, if you have somebody helping you, that's excellent. But I definitely felt like I was like winging it for my first deals. I mean, they turned out okay, but now looking back, I feel sorry for those clients. Yeah. Yeah. You're kind of flying by the seat of your pants initially, a little bit.
There was always a first in everything, right? Yeah. I had a first home inspection. Yep. Now I've had 7,200 home inspections in 18 years, and it's crazy how fast time goes, but it's time to move on. I love working real estate with you. I'm just starting to get involved. Mm-hmm. With it. I've kind of watched you on the phone, and me on the phone. I'm hoping my clients leave me a voicemail so I don't have to actually talk. They just let me go do my job and work and stuff. But, I think with us in the real estate business is we have a perfect blend. And that's really, selfishly, I wanted to do it because I just want to spend more time with you and travel with you and do that. That's my selfish reason to do it. I didn't have a huge interest in real estate. I hadn't been in the real estate market for 18. I've dealt with every realtor type and every client type that you can think of. But I thought, as a team, and that's what we are, Team Cantlon, we decided that, wow, how about, you are so brilliant on working the phones and solving problems and dealing with clients, and it's just, that's where you shine. Where you don't shine is like, I need to go show 8 houses in Orville, and I don't want to go. I mean, I want to go do it, but I don't want to go do it, right? So I thought, well, if I got licensed, I would be happy to do that for you. Mm-hmm. I take that burden off of you so you can work the desk. And I mean, I help out as much as I can with the kids and stuff, but that is my kind of thing where, okay, I can go show houses. I now can walk into any house within 15 minutes and give you a pretty good summary on what's going on with that house.
And clients love that about you. I think they're actually excited when they find out you're the one showing, because you're going to give them like the rundown in a nutshell really quick.
Age of the roof, furnace condition, hot water tank is strapped up, what is that thing, and is it square? I mean, it's just like I can just read it.
Yep.
And I think that's a big asset with you. Now I'm just starting to get into the actual real estate side of it.
You've graduated from showing assistant.
I did. And actually I was kind of putting off, and I'm a little more excited about it now because, after your first initial 90 hours of schooling and passing the stress of passing the tests and everything, the big exam, and then you got to turn around in the first 2 years and do 90 hours again. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I just got done doing this, but it's due in September. That's how fast 2 years went. And what did we do? I had a 3-month window of when I was going to do that, and we just got it. We got it done in 3 weeks, right? And then that just boom,
you can't really say you're a newbie because you have been in the real estate field for 18 years.
Yeah.
You have so much knowledge. Like you said, the process. You even know a lot of the form names.
Yeah.
Which are the things that true newbies struggle with.
Sure.
And so you have a ton of knowledge that's super helpful.
Well, that's good. No, I appreciate that, but it's a matter of dealing with the clients. So I'm hoping our real estate career will just go and take off. We will find our own lane.
We will.
When those, when it comes to go together, we can go together. But when it needs to split, we have confidence working. But I'm excited about that.
It's a fun adventure.
Yeah, it is.
So I have so many fun, interesting, crazy client stories, like in a good way, crazy, right? And I've always had such amazing, what's the word, like leadership with housing as far as when it's come to my personal housing. Mm-hmm. Things have just always aligned exactly like they were supposed to. Yeah. Doors have closed, doors have opened. Like you put a full price offer on a house and the people just decide not to sell. It's like, that's a closed door. But I've just always had all of those things happen to me. And so I love bringing that into, it's a faith piece, right? Mm-hmm. And just believing that in divine order and that things happen the way they're supposed to. Mm-hmm. But I randomly shot a text to who I thought was someone that I wasn't actually texting. Last summer, I randomly texted someone in my phone, and I thought I was talking to someone, but I actually had texted someone else mm-hmm. that had randomly reached out to me about a house like a year before that. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, LOL, wrong person, but what are you selling? And I told him, I was like, oh, funny, little lake cabin. And he's like, shoot me the details. We might be interested. And I sent him the details. They asked if they could come see it the next day, and they bought it.
Yeah.
And it was literally like an accidental text.
Yeah.
And we just I told him, I was like, I wasn't even trying to text you. And he's like, that is so crazy. Like,
that is.
Again, divine order, right? It was
great.
Worked out exactly like it was supposed to.
Absolutely. That's a fun story.
And then as far as, it's so hard for me to like put clients in a box of like, these are my ideal clients, because I love, like, so much about buying and selling real estate has to do with a specific huge life event. Maybe you're getting married, and so you're buying your first house together. That's like mm-hmm. so exciting. Mm-hmm. Maybe you just lost someone, and I just walked through that, losing my dad, and you're having to deal with an estate, and you need someone mm-hmm. that's caring and supportive mm-hmm. and understands the process of having to go through all of their things. Mm-hmm. And, that's like being there for people in those situations. Or, maybe you're going through a divorce and you're having to move out with your kids and you're stressed and you're going through that. Mm-hmm. And I've another situation that I've personally walked through where mm-hmm. you're having to sell the house, relocate, mm-hmm. whole moving is stressful enough, and then you add these huge life events on top of it, and it's like, it can be a lot. Mm-hmm. So getting to work with clients and being able to say, like, I've been here. I 100% can identify with how you're feeling, mm-hmm. and just being able to be like the support on top of the professional that's helping them with their sale is so amazing. And retirees, that's the one stage I have not been to, but I love working with retirees, because there's like, it's a little bit of a bittersweet. A lot of times they're downsizing and they're getting rid of the home they raised their kids in. So there's that emotional, which I've helped my mom with that.
Yeah.
There's kind of that emotional, you're packing up bedrooms that have looked the same way for 30 years kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's also there's like an excitement, they're downsizing so they can travel more, or, mm-hmm. Go live near the grandkids. And so I can't really specify one specific type of client. Obviously I like people that are reasonable and that are kind, just like, I strive to be, but overall, I love all of the different aspects because it is so diverse, and that's one of the reasons I love it.